Hi, and welcome to finally another episode of Kasper On BI. Today, I'm excited that we're going to talk to Chris Wagner. And Chris is an analytics architect at Rockwell Automation. Um, he runs Data Gods. He runs Kratos BI on YouTube, where he's very active. He shares a lot of interesting experiences around Power BI, things you should do, you shouldn't do, what to keep an eye out on. And he shares that all with us. And on the side, he actually is very active in his organization on running, organizing Power BI, architecting, how should we run it, what should we choose, large data sets, and so forth. So today, we're going to talk about architecting a BI solution in a large organization. And he knows all about it, and I'm so looking forward to learning from him. And with that, let's go listen to Chris. I'm very honored to have you here on the Kasper On BI channel. Of course, many people already know you from YouTube and the blogs and all these things. Can you share a little bit of what you do and your company?
Sure. So my name is Chris Wagner. I'm an analytics architect for Rockwell Automation. We provide manufacturing automation globally, all around the world. I'm also a Microsoft MVP in the data platform. So apparently in my free time, I enjoy doing this, data, and BI stuff. So,
Yeah,
I
join the
also
crazy
run.
club.
Yes. I joined the crazy club. I also run KratosBI.com. This is where I recognize all the data gods that exist on the planet, including yourself.
Oh, wow. I have it right over there,
um,
actually.
yeah.
I'm honored.
um, yeah. So, people were always asking me like, "Hey, man, how did you become, this god with data?" And I thought, you know what? It's just following all these great people. And so I decided, what better way to recognize it than to create a site that highlights all the incredible work that's being done in the community, showcasing, people like yourself and all of the other incredible people that are out there, contributing and helping people, do more with data. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And,
I'm actually, yeah, go ahead.
well, go ahead.
No, I wanted to say I will put the links to all of these, all of your. You have Kratos BI, you have amazing YouTube channel, so you're also sharing a
Yep.
lot of information yourself. So I'll put the links all in the description so people can go out and check it out if they already haven't. Probably they have.
Awesome. Yeah. Please do like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but at Rockwell Automation, which is my day job, right, where I spend, 50, 60, whatever hours every week doing, I provide analytical and architectural support for broadly for our analysts and for our Power BI platform. We have 30,000 Power BI users. We have 400 what we call business unit content creators who create content that's shared broadly across the organization. And then we have 40 analytics engineers who build out those analytical models that are consumed and used by our business to access a consistent analytical, information. Right.
Mm, that's great. And we'll definitely get back to that. Uh,
Excellent.
Maybe a bit more about. I mean, I love to hear people how they got started and how they mostly how did you get into data? Were you always a data guy, or like me, I came
Well,
from development world?
so I actually I really came from the business world. I always liked technology. The first computer programs the first computer I ever worked on was a supercomputer, a Cray supercomputer. I
Oh
was
yeah.
6 years old, and my friend's mom was a programmer at Cray, and I went over to see her, and she sat me down on a supercomputer, and well, I kind of took off from there. And
Cool.
so I've been doing programming and little bits of stuff, but really as a hobby for a very long time. I got into technical consulting and solution design, and that's when I really discovered my love for data and my love for analytics and how that could unlock insights to really help people make better decisions. And like it just kind of snowballed from there. I went from that to being a part of a BI team who worked on an Oracle data warehouse and business intelligence platform. And I went from working on it to running the whole show within a handful of years, because I loved the ability to automate the flow of information, provide those insights to people, and do so really at scale. I was firmly on the Oracle space. We needed to do an upgrade. I scoped out the project for an Oracle upgrade, and I only had to ask for it was only $4.2 million to upgrade this platform. I mean,
Wow.
it wasn't as expensive as a lot of people thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, I only got funded for like 2.4 million, as I recall, because they didn't approve all the modules that I wanted as part of it, and that was okay. We could get along with it. And 1 month after implementing this $2.4 million solution, I was invited to this presentation on Microsoft Business Intelligence Suite, and I thought, okay, well, free drinks, why not? And
Yeah.
we were in the meeting, and I had my laptop open, and I was I was watching what they're talking about, and I realized that the solution that they were describing was that full $4.8 million solution that I really wanted, all inside of one package without any additional pieces. And then I scoped out like the total cost, and it was like $240,000 for this $4.8 million solution. And I realized
Mm.
I am on a dying platform. There's no way that that's going to continue on. So the next day I started applying for Microsoft BI jobs. I didn't know what I was doing whatsoever, but I figured, I got to get off of this and onto Microsoft BI. And I've been on Microsoft BI ever since.
Oh,
So
that's pretty
yeah,
cool. So
yeah.
when was it that you actually got to hear about Power BI? Was it in the early days or?
Oh yeah. So uh, it was Power BI was like pre-release. I was on a call with like 50 other clients when they were talking about this new way to integrate the Power Query and Power View into SharePoint. And that was the first
Oh.
time I saw that green like Power BI logo like on a
Uh-huh.
deck at one point in time. And
Yeah.
so we were fully using like power, or that Power View inside of Excel was like, that was our bread and butter. We were doing that all over the place. And um, when we saw this, yeah, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, I I have that sticker someplace as well, I think. And we were all in. I thought, actually, I wasn't all in. I thought it was great. I really liked it. We were actually
Yeah.
I was on a committee who had to approve the new BI platform. And while we were using MSBI on the underlying stuff, they wanted for distribution. They thought, yeah, we'll go Tableau. And I thought, okay. And as they were rolling out Tableau, we continued to evolve our BI solution. And the Microsoft BI solution was, while Tableau was shiny at the time, the insights we were getting from the Power BI or the Microsoft stuff and Power View were actually far superior in our ability to deliver and for users to consume.
Yeah.
And honestly, I needed the ability, or I started to tinker with Power BI, and I needed the ability to sort a column, because at the time you couldn't sort anything.
Mm.
And I sent a request to the engineering team through the PM that I had at the time. I said, hey, it'd be great if I could sort this stuff. That'd be really helpful. And a week later, he said, hey, can you download the latest client? We added sorting for you. And that again
Yeah.
sold
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, done with Tableau. I'm going Power BI. Nobody can respond to, that type of feature request that quickly.
Yeah. That's
So
pretty cool.
yeah, perfect.
So, Chris, anything before we dive into the Power BI thing? Anything you want to share about yourself? I know you love Jack Black from what I've seen on on Twitter. Wrestling. What else?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, A little fun fact for you. Uh, well, I love wrestling. I'm really at heart. I guess I'm a performer. I in junior high and high school, I was in over 50 theater production performances. So I've been I've been in the choir. I've been in the show choir. I've been the dancer, the backup performer. I've had speaking roles. I've had non-speaking roles. You name it. I was in almost every production that came through the little town I grew up in. So
Nice,
uh,
nice. I mean, we
yeah,
can kind of see it from your enthusiasm and the way that you are talking on the screen. There must be more
yeah.
behind the veil.
Yeah. Well, and the, the that's what brings the luchador out, and
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
like to inject that energy and that give it a little something more, because technical stuff is great and you want to get into the heart of it, but it's nice when you can add some levity and see that people are enjoying the work that they're doing as well. So I like
Exactly.
to bring that along.
Well, keep it going. We like it. All right.
Excellent.
So let's talk about Power BI. So we talked already a little bit about the journey of your company with Power BI, but like, how hard was it to convince them that okay, Power BI is the way to go, and we need to get rid of these other tools? And what were like the arguments?
Yeah. So that is a great question. Um, Rockwell has been a strong partner of Microsoft for a long time. So um, when Power BI was introduced, we had existing BI platforms that were out there that were servicing our company. And we did it in, kind of a gradual adoption approach, right? We started off with a small group of people that were working and operating. And then, every year we continue to, radically grab and drive adoption, right? Now, Power BI is our primary BI reporting platform, and we are aggressively looking at how do we deprecate those other legacy BI platforms that,
Hmm,
you know, if you're in a company that's been around for 100 some odd years, you've got those things that are just like
of course.
have been out there for 30 years, and how do you deprecate them? Well, that's one of the things that we're working on in the next 12 months, is how do we
And
deprecate those
so
other services?
it's not
Yeah,
just like I like to tell this. We see a lot. Is it's not just technical, right? As you said, the
right.
company's been around for 100 years. People have been doing that for like 10 years, and
Yep.
they're doing that. So now they have to retrain. So how do you guys help them with that?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. So it is all around, how do you convert one business process that was using this old technology and these old concepts into a new business process that helps them leverage these new tools. And we're actually doing that by leveraging the entire Power Platform. And so Power BI is the key component when it comes to data and analytics. But Power Automate and Power Apps is a big piece of that. Right now, that people are able to use Power Automate to automate a lot of the workflows and the processes that they have, and Power Apps to handle that ingestion of that information, and as it flows into Power BI, and you create this entire ecosystem of low code self service
Hmm,
tools that allow people to go from this highly manual world of this old world of like business objects, and well, you run the T5343P report, you extract it, you then mash it up, you go through all these manual steps, right? And then you email Shelly this information, to
hmm,
this world where it just runs by itself, right? And not even an engineer, but anyone inside your organization can take that stuff, mash them together, put in those automations through drag and drop functionalities, and build out that automated distribution of stuff is just really transformed the way we do business. And that is just a huge benefit in helping us move away from these old legacy tools,
hmm.
right? And
I hope.
Power
I
BI,
hope.
Power Apps, and Power Automate is a huge component in that.
I hope James Phillips is listening to this podcast. I don't think so, but he will love the
You
stories
never
for
know.
sure.
Maybe.
Yeah. You never know. All right, yeah.
um,
So, yeah, I think I
oh,
mean,
go ahead.
yeah. So the rollout, like you said, this is gradually. Was it smooth? Was there resistance from people, or
Sure. There's always pushback. There's always resistance. There's always people that are looking to do something different, make some other choices. I would say that at Rockwell, because we're such tight partners with Microsoft, it was probably easier than other organizations may have had. But we had those people who said, well, what about Tableau? What about Looker? What about these other tools that exist inside the marketplace? And the strongest uh, the strongest message or argument that we had against those other options was, if you look at the entire ecosystem that we're talking about when it comes to Power BI, or it comes to Power Platform or O365, is the integration and the maturity of how all of the tools fit and work together. And this is something that I've started to talk about a lot lately, and that is each of the tools inside of the suite has a direct grow up pattern from an individual to a team to that department or to that enterprise, right? Like, you can take that thing you have in Excel, right? And that you're tinkering with and you do a little thing with, right? And you can transform that into something that's being done inside of Power BI that you can start to, share inside of your team or share inside of your department, that you can then take and evolve into something that's truly becomes enterprise ready. And that same piece of code can live on through that entire process. So you're not having to at each step re-engineer, rebuild, or rewrite, but you can have that truly agile design by starting in something really basic and making it scale to something that's truly enterprise. And that's true inside of Power BI. That's not just in analysis services, but if you look at Power Query, right? Power Query is great in Excel. So you can build out your model in Excel. You can take that to Power BI. You can extend that into analysis services. But you can also take that M code. You can drop that into a data flow, right? And now you're doing data engineering for your organization. Your citizen data engineer, they can get that up and running. You can also take that M code and drop that into Azure Data Factory, and now you're doing enterprise scale data engineering.
yeah,
That's incredible, right? Same thing's true with Power Automate. What is it? Yeah, Power Automate goes right into Logic Apps, right? It's the same code, right? So you need to scale something you build, you just do it. You don't have to recode. You don't have to, find new technology. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You're able to take the work that someone who knows and operates and is inside that business. You can take that and scale that up, right? And
yeah,
that pathway from that, like, hey, I'm just an end user to becoming a citizen engineer to becoming a full-on engineer, is just unrivaled in the industry. And it's an incredibly compelling story.
yeah. Well, that's really good. So maybe a little bit of a side question. Like Power BI offers like self-service BI, and it offers central model, like
Right.
analysis services models and things like this. But not just that, I can imagine, like, I don't know Rockwell Automation that well, but I do know they're like in automation and they're like they're building stuff. So I can
Mm-hmm.
imagine like there's a lot of shared information, like products, for example, products
Right.
table or customers and things that you want to have multiple people. So some people want to just use their Excel spreadsheet and go. And so how do you help them? How do you like bridge that gap between self-service and central models? Because I think from what I've heard is you do both. You're not like, okay, we're IT and here's the model and you're not allowed to do anything else. You try to do both, but it's a tough to balance, right?
Yeah, that is very hard to balance out, right? Because we are constantly innovating. We're constantly looking to, push the bounds of technology to deliver better products for our customers, right? And
Yeah.
that's broad scale across our 30,000 employees are constantly looking for that, right? And so what we continuously are going back to, and I just absolutely love this visual. Matthew Roach presented this, I think, in London a few years ago, and I've seen it in some other slides. And it's the pyramid of business intelligence and governance around self-service, right? And where you have, at that individual level and team level, you have lower controls, you have more flexibility, you allow them to do more things at those lower layers to help them innovate, to help them grow, to help them run and trains change, right?
Yeah.
But as you start to go up that stack, you start to put more controls in place. You start to, put more governance around that. You drive more through automation. And that's the framework that we're constantly going back to and talking about. Like, okay, hang on, for this solution, I mentally, when I'm talking to someone, I have to like constantly level set. Like, hey, is this individual talking about a solution that's appropriate for an individual or team? Or is this individual talking about a solution that's appropriate at the enterprise level? And honestly, helping people sort that out
Hmm.
is one of the biggest challenges, right? Because you'll see a new engineer who enters in at the enterprise level and they go, oh, hey, look at what this individual did. I want to do that. Well, that's grossly inappropriate at the enterprise level, right? There's not enough controls. It's not a hardened enough process. There's way too many manual steps. Fine for an individual, but if you're going to be driving the revenue and operations of an organization off of that's inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
Helping people understand that at both the developer and the management level, that's one of the biggest pieces of my job, right? Because we have managers and executives who'll say, hey, I asked this individual to deliver me this and they did it in a day. Why can't you do that in the same time frame? It's like,
Yeah.
because of all of these controls that we need to put in place to make sure that the work we do is sustainable, repeatable, dependable, and reliable. It's going to take us a little more time. Now, what we're doing to address that is we're investing heavily inside of our DevOps and CIC development, or CI/CD development, so that at that enterprise level we can start to get that rapid response time frame down, so that at the enterprise level we can begin to behave like the individuals do. I call the initiative 4 hours to production. Um, the idea being that when someone comes in and says, hey, I need this, we need to be able to provide that to them within 4 hours in a production supportable environment. And we're doing that all through automation and our metadata driven process control framework.
Mm. So, like, for example, do you have like, so how are you sharing like dimensions and data? So, do you have a data warehouse where you store all these things, or?
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's a great question. So we're moving from a Cloudera data lake in which we followed a data modeling strategy of the one big table strategy, right? Where like
Yeah.
everything got just dumped into like these 500 column wide, billion record long tables, right? Which was very common and lots of people working that infrastructure, right? So we're going from Cloudera, where we followed that modeling strategy, into Synapse, where we're following a star schema strategy, so that we have truly conformed
Hmm.
dimensions, models that are broadly accessible and shareable, and centralized models that are reusable and consumable by people inside the organization. And we're doing that by leveraging our citizen development path, right? So the people that are working in the business, they're working on defining their models. They'll build that out inside of M or Power Query that goes into data flows, that then informs our developers when it comes to building out those models, right? So how do we define, like our customer dimension, or how do we define our product hierarchy? Right.
Yeah.
That way we can have that centralized model that is broadly discernible and accessible and is in alignment with what the developers are currently using or expecting to be able to use. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So, So you're the architect, and you talked about Matthew Roach. We have to talk about Center of Excellence then too.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
do you guys also have a Center of Excellence in your organization, and what role do you play in that?
Yeah, so we do run a center of excellence. I am one of the facilitators of that. We have like a committee, and we meet on a monthly basis where we line up speakers. So we look at having a center of excellence in a few different points when it comes to how we do our touch points. For starters, and what we started with is the classic pattern where we meet once a month. We talk about what's new inside of the Power Platform. We'll run through with a guest speaker to like highlight, either someone from the community, someone inside of Rockwell, or someone at Microsoft to highlight different patterns or features or functionality. And then we'll have sessions where people will kind of show off the what's going on inside their community. Then that's classic. That's the center of excellence a lot of places have, or we also highlight best practices, how you do things. But we've also started to evolve the way we approach the center of excellence and our support side, because we were trying to support all of our BI engineers following a classic technical support pattern where people would call in, submit a ticket, and the help desk would
Uh-huh.
respond. Uh, but the help desk and any help desk isn't really equipped to be able to respond with the complexities of helping business intelligence developers and content creators, right? So these tickets would tend to languish, and it was just, generally speaking, it was a bad experience, and it created a bad taste in people's mouth for the way we worked and for Power BI and for everything. And we said, we need to find a better way to deal with this, because we can't find help desk to be able to do this. It's just not a thing. So what we did is we started to adopt uh, a strategy where we looked at three specific types of touch points we were trying to have with our community. Number one was building out a forum in a community where we had regular daily touch points with people inside of our community, and we did
Mm.
that initially through Yammer, and we did that by anytime we were brought into a consulting session to talk through an issue. And if we pull up one of your blog posts on a solution, uh, when we'd share that with the developer, we'd also post on Yammer saying, "Hey, read this great Casper article. Help me solve this issue when we were doing this. This is really cool." And we'd send that out, right? So it became really easy to have that like
Mm.
slow trickle effect to help people, train them up, make them aware of resources, get them help. It also began to foster a community where people are now actively engaged and talking on the community, which has now moved to Teams. But now there's constant Teams chatter going back and forth, like, "Hey, how do you do this connection string? I'm having an issue with this visual," or whatever it is, right? Like, the community is now self-servicing when people have issues. And then
Great.
number two, we started to have what we call power hours. And power hours is, instead of us answering tickets, and which we kind of don't anymore, um, we have 2 hours from Fridays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We The community gets together and we work through challenges and issues that people have inside the service. It's it's an incredible community. It is straight up. It's my favorite 2 hours of every single week, because I get to like sit and listen, to people's different like issues that they have, and then other people in the community come in and solve it. Right, like today I saw a number of new features and new ways of solving issues that, like, my old school mindset was just, "Oh no, that I'm wrong," right? Like, that's how you took care
Yeah.
of it 5 years ago. Now look at what you can do. That's brilliant. Okay, let's
Awesome.
do more of that, right? And so it's a great forum to not just help people, but to get educated in. So we've got 40 to 90 people that are on that call almost every single week, and I just absolutely love it. And then number three, the third thing that we implemented is, in order to get training and make sure people are up to speed on a regular basis, is we have an annual Power Hour Summit, right? And We do this. We bring the community together, and we make sure that they get trainings around Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate. We make sure that we bring together people in the like at Microsoft or the community or consultants to do these trainings. We make sure there's tracks for like beginners or advanced users. There's visionary sessions for management to come in and go through, and by confining that to a 2-day period, we really cap and limit the amount of effort we have to spend in training and education, right? So instead of like randomly having to set up like training sessions every month and like having to go back and forth setting these things up, no, hey, it's in October or November, right? And we're able to bring everyone together and make sure people are aware that hey, instead of service center, come to power hours, right? And other things inside the community. We actually that has taken off at Rockwell better than we could have expected. We
Awesome.
expected 50 people at the first meeting to go through this. We had over 1,100. This year, we're hoping for, we're 2 to 5,000 people will hopefully be in attendance. Knock on wood this year. But it's an excellent way for us to share information, to get it out inside of our organization, as well as save us time and energy when it comes to sharing that out and getting it out there. So it's a highly efficient way of disseminating information.
Yeah, that's sounds really really cool. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, also, I imagine because you kind of already talked to it. So, how do you keep up with Power BI? For me, it's already hard. And how do your users keep up with Power BI?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Keeping up with Power BI is definitively a challenge, right? Like, uh, Adam used to have like a daily recap that I'd watch on a very regular basis, but now I have to do that all myself. So, yeah, if you go over to our gym down the road from me, you will find me there between like 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. most days, and I'll be on the elliptical and I'll have up my little smartphone and I'll just be sitting there watching videos, reading blog posts, scrolling through LinkedIn, finding out what's going on and the different approaches that are out there. And so, for me, it is a daily basis. I'm working to keep up with what's going on inside the service and how people work and operate, uh, which is a lot. You shouldn't necessarily do that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so, what I do with that information is I do try to, as I said before, I try to have that trickle feed into our organization. I do that into like LinkedIn and on Twitter as well. I share that stuff out so that hopefully people can start to like kind of follow along on that journey and keep that information alive, right?
yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
Now, the other thing I do, and this is something I think is super important if you work inside the service. Number one, install SQL Server on your laptop. Number two, install the AdventureWorks database, and then number three, build out a Power BI model that sits on top of it. When you've done that, then every time there's an update, and you get that notification on YouTube that there's a new update. Well, go out before you watch. Don't just watch the video, right,
Yeah,
and listen along. Download the latest version, pull up the video, and then while Kelly's talking, go into Power BI desktop and like run through what's going on and just try out what's being described. Try out those new features for yourself. See how well it works. See where find if see if you can find gotchas, right? Like, oh, this works good here, but maybe it needs some work in these places, right? Or whatever it is, try it out for yourself so you can say you've kicked the tires and said these new updates.
yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, and actually, in finding ways that you can use it in your day to day
Yeah,
life.
right.
So we've talked about self-service, enabling business users, the whole program there. Let's talk a little bit more about the enterprise side of the world. So
Sure.
I've seen a lot of your content on Twitter talking about moving from AES to Power BI Premium. How did that go? What are your experiences?
Well, we've been going through a process of migrating from SSAS to analysis services, taking our enterprise models and moving them off of the VMs and into the service. And that's been going pretty well. But about a year ago, we started to do some prototyping with Microsoft on Power BI Gen 2, and that was going fantastic. And so we began the process of testing out what would it be like to move one of our enterprise models from analysis services over to Gen 2. Our users got such incredible performance, and it was such a reliable environment that we began migrating all of our models off of SSAS and AAS over into Power BI Gen 2. And we are just super happy with it. I think we're at 85 to 90% of our models are now running live in Gen 2. And our users are really happy. We've seen errors on our self-service framework drop from like 1,000 errors a day down to like, maybe we get 10 to 100 or something like that. It's like the number of errors we get
So what do you
is
mean errors?
nothing in comparison. Well, you load errors or whatever. I mean, we have thousands of data sets that run in the
Mm.
service, right? And uh, where we were having like literally hundreds of issues and contention problems every hour, now we're down to just a trickle of issues coming on. So we are, the concept of going from uh, Gen 1 to Gen 2. I'm sorry, not the concept. The act of going from Gen 1 to Gen 2 was super helpful on our self-service side. But on the enterprise side, those old analysis services models that we brought over were 10, 15 times faster. But the models that we pulled forward from SSAS that were running on like
On-prem?
whatever compatibility mode, like 1200 or something like that, we brought those over, changed it to 1520 or whatever it is. And like we were clocking some of the load times on visuals, and we were seeing in some cases like a 500 to 1,000% increase in performance. It was crazy. Like
Wow.
our users are so happy with it.
And so how about the process itself? Like your BI team, the analysis services guys actually moving those models, how hard was it? And did any interesting gotchas?
Well, so yeah, it's a little bit different running inside of the Power BI Gen 2 versus running in analysis services or versus running in SSAS. Uh, in analysis services, you can set up service principals, and have those running in both those places. What we end up doing, because we're also using premium per user for our dev and QA environments, is we
Mm.
basically set up a pro user, a premium per user account as the service account that we manage and do all of our loads by. That allows us to have the code move through our DevOps, through the dev QA and out into production, manage all of our refreshes and get everything up and running. The only real trick there is you have to make sure that user ID has a premium per user license. And once you've done that, it just works. It's great. It's fantastic.
Hmm. And okay, and the devs are happy too.
Oh yeah, our devs are tickled pink. Number one, because all of their models are faster, so people are no longer
Hmm.
complaining about the old models, asking for fixes, asking for rebuilds, all that other stuff. They're able to work on new things that BI devs want to do. Right? Nobody wants to spend all their time rebuilding and refocusing on old models. Now they get to work on new things, new concepts, and new tooling. Right? So now they're all excited to be on Tabular Editor 3, have premium per user, lower environments for dev QA, and then production just being in premium. That is a huge advantage as well, right? Because if you put yourself in the shoes of doing like big development, if you have an 80 gig model in production in SSAS or analysis services, if you're trying to build that out and get that performance, well, you have an 80 gig model in these lower environments. With bigger teams where you have 6, 7, 8, 9 devs, you can't have 6, 7, 8, 9, 80 gig models in these lower environments. It won't work. So previously you had to do all this juggling to make that work. Well, with
Mm.
premium per user, we can do whatever we need in our lower environments to test it out, to validate that works, and then we merge the code, move it on up to QA, validate with our customers, and then we move it into production. It has radically streamlined our development process and made it so that like the conflict between developers is just significantly lower. Plus, now all of our developers get to take advantage of new features like auto ags that just rolled out and anything else that's in the service. If we can access it in Tabular Era 3, we can access it for our enterprise models.
All right, that makes sense. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. We talked about this before. Composite
Yeah.
models. You like the feature, but not the governance.
Yeah, well, it's composite models and direct query from one model to the next is the future of analytics management, right? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll just be old farts going, remember when we couldn't do this? When I was growing up, you couldn't do a direct query cross models, right? And everyone will laugh at us for those old days that we'll be complaining about. But the challenge I have today is our, number one, it's in governance, our ability to turn those features on, off, allowing people to do composite models or not. The load that does get put back on a centralized model, if you have a whole bunch of people running weird, and I mean really weird composite models on top of your enterprise model, it can just create an environment that's just super, super wonky. You just have developers, and God bless them. They're just trying to get their job done, right? And but in order to get their job done, they write some crazy DAX statements that relate between that central model and that composite model, and it blows up. It creates all sorts of havoc on the central model and there's thing, and so it's a challenge today, right? But I see in the future where we have much more governance, much more control over the environment, right? Like today, I've got a Gen 2 instance here, and I've got a premium per user here, or I've got a Gen 2 over here, right? I'm sure that has something to do with it. Eventually, we're going to see that all get brought together. All of these controls are going to be, more thought out and uh, all sorts of performance issues are going to be resolved inside the service. I'm 100% confident that that's what's going to happen. So we're keeping an eye on it. It has its use case for like individual or team like niche solutions, right? Or for like a POC around how you want to solve something like that. But you'll never ever escape the need to do good tabular modeling design, good DAX statements, doing your performance. That still matters. That still counts. We're still going to need to, make sure that gets in the loop.
Makes sense. So maybe that kind of triggers another question for me. So you're not the admin, right, on your environment. You're more architect or you're architect slash admin, everything in your
Yeah,
environment.
I'm an architect slash admin slash solution engineer, right? So I have to manage the entire platform. And I have to provide solutions for some of the like enterprise teams that are out there working on how do we solve these problems, how do we build this out, and how do we address individual niche situations that they're in that is just it's difficult, it's above their head, and before we go and hire like someone to come in and fix it, I go in and I assist with that.
So what do you spend most of your time on these days?
So So it is a total grab bag. Most of the time, we are spent on designing what does it mean for an organization, a global organization, to work inside of an analytical sphere in a communal way that allows that individual to be productive while at the same time balances out the needs of that enterprise, right? And Rockwell has been for the last like 5-6 years. Uh, well, actually, let's take a step back. Prior to our implementation of Power BI, we were just like most companies, we were a very enterprise centric. We have one team that does all of the analytics, and that was our model, right? And that was the model from the dawn of time. And that became a challenge because the time it took for someone to submit a request into IT and to actually deliver it was in some cases like 3 to 5 years, right? And that's no way to do analytics, right? So 5, 6, 7 years ago now, we rolled out Power BI in a self-service framework that has just blown up and gone gangbusters, and that direction is going really good. What we're trying to do now is we're trying to revive some of that enterprise team while maintaining that self-service and make sure that we have a good balance.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe let's say you're an admin of like, if you get a colleague who is now put into the job of being a responsible for an organization to roll out Power BI, what are some of the tips and tricks you would give them?
So as an admin, or as someone who's rolled out Power BI and has managed this in large organizations, the number one thing I point out and say that people need to be comfortable with is to be comfortable with the chaos that can come with the self-service BI platform. That is just going to be a natural part of your environment. Do not strive for just that enterprise world and locking it down to the nth degree. That you're going to have a bad time if you try to do this. I just don't treat Power BI and a self-service BI platform the way you would any other application, right? You need to create foundational pillars that allow the different groups that are in your organization to run and operate. The way I look at it is you want to make sure that things are secure and that people can't hurt each other, right? As long as you have those two guide rails in place, allow people to get in there, do what they need to do so that they can continue to deliver on their business needs.
Right. That sounds very simple, but it probably is not.
Yeah, it sounds simple. It is very challenging. People are going to always want to be doing something a little bit more than what your security is going to allow. And they're going to want to do something that is a little more potentially impactful on those around them. But, making sure that you have good controls in place, making sure that you have good policies and standards in place, that can really help you when it comes to people understanding what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. The other thing that I say is do what you can to set up your community of practice. My big things are all about how can I, as an enterprise architect, how can I be connecting with the people that are out working on my platform on a very regular basis without it being a heavy lift for me. So on daily basis, one of the things I try to do is whenever I look up an article or read a video or something along those lines, I like to blast that out on Teams or on my Yammer site, right? So people know they're solving things. Weekly, we do our power hours where we sit down and do basically office hours, which confine all of the madness to a specific time. And then our monthly Center of Excellence where we go over what's new inside the service.
All right, that makes a
You
lot
may
of
have
sense.
talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So maybe what has been the most exciting feature for you in the last year from Power BI standpoint?
Oh, the most exciting feature? Oh my. There've just been some killer ones that came out, right? Gen 2 is just so fast, right? Like that's magical. Composite models is the future of analytics, right? So it's exciting to be part of that. Goals is a feature that honestly I've been talking with Microsoft about for like 3 or 4 years. Like, how can we bring goals into the system? Because that's what gets us up and gets going. And then I would be remiss to say, but uh, actually not remiss. I'm very excited that we now have embedded inside of a Power BI report a paginated report inside of that.
Oh
That
yeah, yeah,
is just absolutely, that's the magic. If you work with people in accounting, or you work with anyone who has a very process driven um, operation where they need to have highly formatted data, now we can deliver that inside of Power BI. Instead of like getting close with matrix and grids, now you can deliver it for sure, spot on. It's wonderful. And there's a lot of additional functionality when it comes to programming, formatting, and capabilities that's within paginated reports that way too many people don't even realize that you can do. uh, the biggest thing there is the number of actions you can drive people to take from within SSR, or I'm sorry, within paginated reports is one of the meccas that we're looking for inside of Power BI, which is always, how do you drive someone to take the appropriate next step? And paginated reports does an excellent job at that.
that makes sense. So were you already using SSRS before in Rockwell?
Well, yeah, Rockwell's been using everything, but um,
Okay,
yeah,
but
we a little
were you
bit.
familiar with it? Let's put it that way then.
Oh, I was. Other people at Rockwell. Some people at Rockwell were familiar with it. Others weren't. There's definitively a higher lift associated with starting to do development inside of paginated
Yeah,
reports, right? Like, Power BI is super easy. Like, anyone can deliver a Power BI report like within an hour. Paginated reports goes back to the days of more classical IT development. So it is a little more technical. There's more configurations. There's more things you can do inside there. But that just means you have more options in order to deliver on functionality that was harder to do, or not even possible to do inside of Power BI. So kind of take the good with the bad there, right? Like, more customization, more features, but also like higher learning curve, right? So um, that's
yeah,
okay.
makes sense.
I yeah,
I mean, my background is SSRS reports on top of multidimensional models, so I'm very excited
yeah,
about it. And I used to do it a lot, but I haven't really done any SSRS report for a while. But yeah,
yeah. Well, and yeah, I was in a similar boat. I did lots of SSRS for a long time, and then, well, when we were, and then I started to go into some other tooling, and then when Power BI came out, well, that
yeah, yeah,
that just consumed everyone. Um, uh, but it didn't address that detail level report that you needed with Power BI. I mean, or that Paginated reports gives you very detailed levels, and where Power BI is that cached interactive feature. I also think a lot of people miss that you 100% could, you know have basically the same feature of that direct query composite models by using paginated reports, right? So
yeah,
you could cache data inside of analysis services or Power BI, have a report that would link into an SSRS report, and then that SSRS report could go back to your data warehouse and hit terabytes of data. And as long
yeah,
as it was able to return the results for your SSRS report, you're fine, right? So you could have two separate data sets there and get around, memory limitations that you'd really struggle with otherwise.
yeah. Makes sense. I mean, yeah, that was pretty magical things you can do there. All right, so maybe the
Yeah.
last question. Um, so I know you've been also working with a lot of the rest of the Power Platform. So how
Yes.
do you integrate a lot of these things in Power BI as well, or are they mostly separate?
Well, so today they're mostly separate, right? You have people that are very analytical in nature and they go to Power BI. And then you have the people who are very application driven and they go to Power Apps. And then we have these people that are very much about automating, making their life easier and doing that work. And that is still three distinct camps that exist out there for the most part. But the best solutions that we're seeing come out of like our upper echelons of developers span all three platforms. Uh, like I just saw this incredible Power App that people had built out that basically created a portal back into Power BI that allowed people to surface Power BI content that would then interact with either Power Apps to get through the content itself or through Power Automate to drive appointments, to drive meetings, to drive action directly from our analytics. And it's really starting to close the loop on, hey, I want to use data to drive decisions that move our organization. And that's one of the big things that the Power Platform brings is that feedback ability, that next step, that, hey, I want to take an action from this that just Power BI alone did not have.
Yeah, and it's not built for. So that's why we have
Right,
multiple
right.
different products in that sense. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
I think, I mean, that's it. We're at time. We've learned a lot of interesting things. I mean, your self-service story was amazing. Your enthusiasm about Gen 2 is really great too. I mean, it's great to hear. I mean, not just here, but also on Twitter and everywhere else, how it's changing your business. And that's great. I really, really, really want to thank you for your time, especially for those viewers who have been paying attention. This is the second round that we're recording because something messed up on my side. So I want to thank you for your patience and thank you for coming back on your holiday. So thanks a lot. It was an honor.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your viewers. Thank you for everything that you and everyone at Microsoft does to make these wonderful products that we are fortunate to get to work with every single day. And remember to like and subscribe to this channel, but also check out my channel and hit me up
Exactly.
on kratosbi.com.
The links will be below. All right. Thank you, Chris. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
And that concludes another episode of Kasper On BI. I'm very grateful for Chris to spending his time with us. I've learned a lot. I hope you've learned a lot. It is very interesting to see how you can roll out Power BI in a large organization and help your users be successful in using Power BI. And that is really the key, the core aspect of it. I'm very gracious to Chris for spending a lot of his time with us because there was something wrong with the recording and we had to do a second part again. But luckily it all worked out. We're back with another recording. Hopefully soon we'll have more. We have some pretty cool ones coming our way. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time and stay tuned for the next one.